Action. Hello everyone, I am Akhil Rajarathinam. So in the last class, we have discussed regarding how the East India Company was able to dominate over the European powers, and even they were on their journey to dominate the Indian subcontinent itself. So now now the French East India Company has gone, Dutch is not there, Portuguese is not there, Danes is not there. So now East India Company is having British East India Company is having an almost a monopoly in that particular area. Now they don't have any competitors, but now they have another ambition is also there. So that is to expand their authority. To expand their authority, they need more territory also. So now they have turned over to the local kingdoms for both expanding their authority as well as expanding their territory. Okay, so the Britishers started with one of the most prosperous region in India, that is eastern part of India, that is Bengal itself. Okay, so their early conquest was in Bengal. Okay, regarding Bengal, we have already discussed regarding Bengal, what is actually the history of Bengal, how Bengal became prosperous under the Mughal rule and all. But still, anyway, I'll give you a brief idea regarding Bengal. Okay, so 1707, Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb died. Okay, Aurangzeb was having a governor was there in Bengal. Okay, so after that, after the death of Aurangzeb, these governors became independent. Okay, so that's now the Nawabship of Bengal started and Bengal became a independent territory. Okay. Alright, so in 1756, Sirajuddaula. In 1756, Sirajuddaula became the Nawab of Bengal. Okay, Sirajuddaula, coming to Sirajuddaula, he is actually the coming in the lineage of Murshid Quli Khan. Murshid Quli Khan, and he was a immediate successor of Ali Vardi Khan. We have discussed this Murshid Quli Khan and all. Murshid Quli Khan was the governor of Aurangzeb. So after Aurangzeb's death, Murshid Quli Khan declared independence. So after that, his successor was Ali Vardi Khan. His successor was Ali Vardi Khan. Okay. So after Ali Vardi Khan, again his immediate successor was Sirajuddaula. Okay. So his advantage was he was young. His disadvantage was he was young. Okay. So since he was young, he has an inexperienced leadership. But since he was young, he sought to assert the full control over the Bengal. Bengal was a very rich region, especially the port of Calcutta. Calcutta was one of the important factors in which Bengal was rich by, because it was a very important trade route, a strategic trade route. But still, again, Britishers were also there in this Bengal region. They had established a trading post in Calcutta in 1690 itself. Okay, Britishers. So in 1690, Job Charnock was an agent of the British East India Company. So he wanted a strategic location. Job Charnock. Okay, so he wanted a strategic location in the eastern part of India, especially this Calcutta was in the near to the Hooghly River. Okay, so in 1698, Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb granted British East India Company the right to trade and establish a factory in Calcutta. Okay, in Calcutta. So what they did is like they established a fort also. They established a fort. By 1750s, they established this Fort William in Calcutta. Okay, so slowly they were gaining their authority over this Calcutta region, and slowly they were trying to bypass this Nawab also. So what was their purpose? Their purpose was mostly trade only, especially the trade in textiles, silk was there, and even this was also one of the very much close to this spice route. Okay. So what happened was like, what led to the conflict is like Sirajuddaula was very much concerned about this growing power and influence of this British East India Company, especially in Bengal, altogether in Bengal, particularly in this Calcutta region. Okay, so the British became increasingly independent. So they were bypassing the Sirajuddaula. Sirajuddaula will be issuing some orders, but they will be doing it independently. Sirajuddaula will be saying that we need taxes for all these things. Britishers will be saying, no, we are not going to pay the taxes. And also another thing is like they were doing it like some they were thinking that this is actually territory in Britain itself. They started fortification, so that's why Fort William became one of the most strategic locations for the Britishers in India. So this is something which provoked Sirajuddaula. And another important thing is like they were not having proper relation with this ruler. They were supporting the rivals of Sirajuddaula. Sirajuddaula in his court was actually having a lot of conspirators were there in Sirajuddaula. They were looking for chances to overthrow Sirajuddaula and become the next Nawab. One of the important persons was Mir Jafar. One of the important persons who was looking for an opportunity to get the Nawabship was Mir Jafar. Okay, so Mir Jafar, so these Britishers were supporting this Mir Jafar, and since he was a conspirators, and Sirajuddaulah was not liking anything. So Sirajuddaulah, he was a young blood. So what he did in June 1756, what he did is he again marched to Calcutta and he attacked the British settlement. British settlement means there they have a fort like Fort William was there. So he captured Fort William. He captured the Fort William. So the British people were there. Even the company officials were there. Other common Britishers were also there. So they were held as prisoners. And this incident is known as a Black Hole of Calcutta. This incident is infamously known as a Black Hole of Calcutta. So Sirajuddaulah took them as prisoners, and they were kept in some unknown location in this fort itself, and many people had to suffocate under their conditions, and many of them died also. So that is why it is known as a Black Hole of Calcutta. Okay. So, but the Britishers were very much angry regarding this. Their response was also really it was really they were shocked with all these things. Okay, so the British East India Company, they had a leader, that is Robert Clive. They had a leader, that is Robert Clive. So Robert Clive actually started as a clerk. He was initially a writer in the British East India Company, and he was initially stationed in Madras only. Okay, so by that time this incident happened, Robert Clive slowly was gaining his positions. Okay, and he was also a very strategic person. He know how to deal with this kind of diplomatic things and all. So what he did is like he was determined to retaliate and regain control of this Bengal region, because Fort William was the most important possession of Britishers in that area. Okay, that was captured by Sirajuddaulah, and also they were humiliated also. Okay, so somehow not just in India itself, in Britain also this was making news. Okay, so somehow Clive wanted to teach Sirajuddaulah a lesson. Okay, so he did some strategically. He was strategically aligned with Sirajuddaullah's rival, that is Mir Jafar. Okay, see, he conspired with Mir Jafar. And Mir Jafar was, even though Mir Jafar and Sirajuddaulah were not having good relations, Mir Jafar was actually the commander-in-chief. Mir Jafar was actually the commander-in-chief of Sirajuddaulah. He was leading Sirajuddaullah's forces. Okay, and but still he was discontent with the Sirajuddaullah's leadership. And also he has another aim was also there. He wanted to become the Nawab of Bengal. So what Clive did is like Clive actually conspired with Sirajuddaulah. Clive said that if you help us to overthrow Sirajuddaulah, you will become the next Nawab of Bengal. And this was something which Mir Jafar was looking for a lot of time. So obviously Mir Jafar said, okay, I'll be helping you. Okay, so what Mir Jafar did is like Mir Jafar, he has his own group within this Sirajuddaullah's army, and obviously during on 23rd June 1756, 23rd June 1757, they went to Plassey. Plassey is in West Bengal, the Plassey region. Now it is known as Plassey. On June 23rd, the date is very important in history. So on June 23rd, 1756, Robert Clive and his forces, so they marched towards Plassey in Calcutta. So where Sirajuddaullah's army was also stationed. Okay, so the Clive's forces, even though they were having a very lower strength, Clive, the British forces only did. Sirajuddaulah was a local ruler. He is having local support is also there. His army was also very much larger, but Clive's army was little more modernized. But still, even they might be able to overthrow this Clive's army. But the commander-in-chief, that is Mir Jafar, he has secretly pledged alliance to Clive, and Sirajuddaulah was not knowing anything. What he did is like he did not support Sirajuddaulah. He did not support Sirajuddaulah in the battle. So ultimately, this army, they refused to fight this battle. Okay, so ultimately Clive's forces won a very decisive victory, and Sirajuddaullah's forces had to flee the battlefield. Later Sirajuddaulah was captured and he was executed also. And finally, like Mir Jafar was a person who was aiming for the Nawabship. So they kept their word. Britishers kept their word. They said that okay, you will be the next Nawab of Bengal. At least for the title, you will be the next Nawab of Bengal. Okay. Alright. So ultimately, he was just a puppet Nawab. Okay. Even though he became the Nawab, he was installed as a Nawab. He was just a puppet Nawab in the hands of Britishers. Okay. Now let's see what were the outcomes of this Battle of 1756. 1757. Okay, so this led to the establishment of British control over the region. Earlier, Britishers were having only control over the Fort William region. Okay, earlier they were having control only over the Fort William region. Fort William region. So now they have surpassed everything. Now they have surpassed everything, and now they have the full control over the more areas of Bengal. And who was the person behind all these things? It was Robert Clive only. Okay, so he was called as the architect of British Empire in India. So obviously he was rewarded also from this bosses. So he became the governor of Bengal from 1758 to till 1760. He became the governor of Bengal, and obviously he made a lot of money. He made a lot of money, and finally he went to Britain itself. Okay, so basically this led to the economic beginning of the economic exploitation and revenue extraction of the Britishers. Okay, so now the company is having a free trade. Okay, earlier Sirajuddaulah was there to at least in namesake itself, Sirajuddaulah was there to at least give some sanctions regarding this, but now they have complete free trade, especially in the regions of Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. Bengal, Bihar and Orissa. Okay, so now Mir Jafar became merely a puppet ruler. He had to pay a lot of sum. He had to pay a lot of sum, even though he was the Nawab. He was the Nawab. He has to pay a lot of sums to British as a reward for their support, because now he is a Nawab, and with whose support, without this British support, he will never be able to become the Nawab. So obviously they demanded, Britishers demanded that, okay, we only helped you, so obviously you have to reward us for that. But ultimately what happened was like Mir Jafar, okay, initially Mir Jafar gave the money, but later Mir Jafar understood that he was completely frustrated that British demands, British were trying to extract everything from him, and he is just a puppet Nawab only. Okay, and slowly Britishers also started to, Britishers don't want this territorial control. Britishers wanted authority only, even if it's an indirect authority also. They wanted that authority only, especially to make money. That was their, and they started something known as a tax farming practice. Tax farming practice means it allowed them to collect taxes directly through private agents. Okay, so here tax farming means they could collect tax through private agents. So this is something which is bypassing the Nawab of Bengal. Okay, they can bypass the Nawab of Bengal, and they can directly collect the tax through private agents itself. Okay, so what happened was like this system led to widespread corruption. Okay, British East India Company was also known for its corruption. Okay, ultimately corruption happened, and slowly the farmers, the peasant class, they suffered because heavy taxation system was also there, and finally it led to agricultural decline in the agricultural productivity also. And somehow Britishers were okay because trade monopoly was there. Trade monopoly was there. All the money which they were making, all the money which these people were making, like farmers were making, everything was going to them only. Artisans, they had to sell products to these Britishers at low prices. Even they exempted this British goods from taxes. So obviously it was having an unfair advantage over the Indian merchant. So this is one incident. This Battle of Plassey is one incident which started the economic exploitation or revenue extraction of the of India. Okay, all right. So even Mir Jafar was also kind of having very much discontent with this. Mir Jafar slowly started to oppose the Britishers. Okay, so they understood that, okay, now if Mir Jafar is in the position, now again what he will also rise to in a position in which he will also become the next Sirajuddaulah. Finally, in 1760, Mir Jafar was removed. Mir Jafar was removed. So and what happened was like his son-in-law Mir Qasim was reinstated as the next Nawab of Mir Qasim was reinstated as a next Nawab. He was a son-in-law of Mir Jafar, so he was little more cooperative to the Britishers. So he became the new Nawab of Bengal. Okay, but slowly Mir Qasim also understood that, okay, this is not going in the right position. I am just a puppet Nawab only. I don't have any authority here. Even he wanted to modernize Bengal's administration and including the army also. Okay, now army's control is also completely unofficially it is under the control of Britishers only. So somehow he wanted to go out of these clutches, and he wanted to modernize the Bengal's administration, even the army also. So there were some things which were officially giving some advantage to this Britishers. So these internal tolls were there. Okay, so he abolished this internal tolls so that it will be helpful for the Indian merchants. Okay, internal tolls. This was something which was helping this Britishers, So what they did is like he abolished this to help the Indian traders, but this hurt the British profiteers. Okay, now they understood that okay, Sirajuddaula came, after that Mir Jafar came, so after that Mir Qasim is also going in the same direction only. So Britishers saw him as a threat, and finally they turned against him. Okay, but Mir Qasim was not ready to give up. Mir Qasim understood that this is not just the Nawab of Bengal. It is not about the Nawab of Bengal, but in other areas also, especially Awadh, and even the Mughals were also suffering by this Britishers policy. So what he did is like he made an alliance. He made an alliance with the other rulers. Okay, he made alliance with other rulers. One is Shujauddaulah. Okay, Shujauddaulah. Shujauddaulah was a Nawab of Awadh. Shujauddaulah was a Nawab of Awadh, and Shah Alam. Shah Alam was a Mughal emperor. Even though Mughal emperor declined after the death of Aurangzeb, Mughal emperor was still there. Okay, he was still there, and I mean their territory was slowly shrinking. Okay, so they made an alliance. Mir Qasim, Shujauddaulah, and Shah Alam. They joined an alliance. They made an alliance, and their joint forces opposed the Britishers. Okay, so their aim was to stop the economic exploitation, and another one, slowly Britishers were expanding. Okay, Mir Qasim's issue was his authority is being challenged. Okay, he is just a puppet Nawab only. Others' issue is that their territory, they are slowly regaining they are slowly gaining control of the territory. Okay, so finally these forces met at Buxar. Buxar is in present day Bihar. So these forces met at on 1764, on 22 October 1764. These forces met at Buxar, and they had a battle. Okay, ultimately Britishers were much more powerful. So the British East India Company was actually fighting the combined force of Mir Qasim, Shujauddaulah, and this Mughal Emperor Shah Alam. Okay, so the British was led by a very able uh, commander, that is Major Hector Munro. Okay, Major Hector Munro. So Hector Munro, but ultimately the outcome was a decisive British victory. Okay, so ultimately British East India Company became victorious, and finally Mir Qasim was overthrown. Now again Mir Jafar was reinstated as a Nawab of Bengal. Okay, so this is what happened. Okay, so now let's see what were the consequences of this Battle of Buxar. Okay, consequences. Slowly you can see that slowly the Britishers are gaining their authority as well as territory in that region. Okay, all right. So the consequences and impact of this Battle of Buxar. One it is see, all these parties were there. One, it was Awadh was there. Another one, it was Bengal was there, and another one, it was a Mughal. One, it ended the Mughal authority. It completely ended the Mughal authority in that region. Okay, so now even the Britishers have authority over the Mughal. Another one, even the British control was expanded, especially in the regions of Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha. Bengal, Bihar, and Orissa. Slowly the Britishers also started to expand, because the Nawab of Bengal was defeated, and he was sent to Mir Qasim was sent to exile. Now again Mir Jafar is only there. Mir Jafar, they already know how to handle Mir Jafar. Okay. And also Nawab of Awadh, he was also weakened, and now he has become a, somehow he was forced to become a British ally. So he was dependent on British completely. He was dependent on British, even for money, even for army, everything. Nawab of Awadh was dependent on the Britishers. Okay, so Shujauddaulah is gone. Mir Qasim was sent to exile. Even Awadh ruler became their ally. Okay, all right. So this is what happened, and finally, with all these people, they signed a treaty known as Treaty of Allahabad in 1765. They signed a treaty known as Treaty of Allahabad. So this is something which formalized the British economic exploitation in India. Treaty of Allahabad formalized the British economic exploitation in India. So this was signed between the British East India Company. So who was heading the British East India Company? It was Robert Clive. Okay. So Mughal Emperor Shah Alam and Shujauddaulah. So the key terms of this treaty was company secured something known as the Diwani rights. Company secured something known as the Diwani rights. So basically, Britain gained control over the revenue collection in Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha, and also taxation was also part of this. I mean, taxation. They had the complete authority over the taxation also. Okay, Mughal emperor became a pensioner. We have to reside in Allahabad under the British protection. Nawab of Awadh became a British ally. Even he had to cede territories also. Now they have territory, now they have economic control, and now they have the authority over the most powerful rulers, that is Mughal also. So ultimately this led to the British became the de facto rulers. Okay, even though they are not the rulers. Now Mir Jafar is there, but still ultimately whatever Britishers say, even in administration also, ultimately whatever Britishers say will only happen. But their aim was not to gain the administration, their aim was to get the economy, but to to extract the wealth only. But for that, administration will be helping them. Okay, so maybe we can say that this is something which led to the both Battle of Plassey as well as Battle of Buxar. This is something which led to the beginning of British rule in India. Okay, or maybe beginning of the, or maybe something which laid the foundation of British colonial expansion in India. Okay, all right. So after this, it led to widespread famines also. Why? Because Britishers somehow want to take the money and leave. Okay, take the money and leave. That's it. They were not caring about the people of the area. So a very infamous incident happened. That is a Great Famine of Bengal. The Great Famine of Bengal. So this happened in 1770. It happened in 1770. Okay, so this was something which was a consequence of this Treaty of Allahabad, or maybe the Battle of Buxar itself. Okay, it led to widespread displacement and even the social unrest of the area. Okay, all right. So after this Battle of Plassey, after this Battle of Buxar, Robert Clive introduced something known as a dual government. Okay, dual government. So now they have the Diwani rights. So someone should be there to rule, right? Okay, so that is known as dual government system that was introduced in 1765 after the Battle of Buxar through the Treaty of Allahabad. Okay, all right. So what was this dual government system? It's very simple only. Dual government means the British, what was the something which British was granted now? That is a Diwani rights. Okay, Diwani right means they'll be having the right to collect taxes from Bengal, Bihar, and Odisha. But who was ruling? Ultimately, who was ruling? It was a Nawab of Bengal. So they don't have any direct involvement. At least in paper, they don't have any direct involvement in the administration. Okay, so who will be dealing with the Diwani rights? It will be the Diwani rights will be alright. So who will be dealing with the Diwani rights? It will be the British East India Company. It will be under the control of British East India Company, Diwani rights. And also who will be dealing with the Nizamat? Now we have already said that Mir Jafar was again reinstated as a Nawab of Bengal. So Nizamat will be under the control of Nawab. Nizamat means it will be the general administration. Okay. Diwani means it will be regarding the economy or taxation rights only. Okay. So Nizamat means it is the administration. So administration will be under the control of the Nawab, and Diwani rights, which is dealing with the economy, especially the taxation, it will be under the control of the British East India Company. So this system where two authorities are there, that is known as the dual government system, which was introduced by Robert Clive, in 1765. Okay. So Nawab will be the official in charge of maintaining law and order, but he has no financial power. Why? Because to maintain this law and order, what we need finances, right? Without any finances, how will you pay? How will you pay for the revenue and all? How will you pay for the administration and all? So ultimately they were taking money and they were taking it with them. Okay, so this is something which led to the Great Famine of 1770. Okay, however, later the British understood. Later the British understood that this is not going to be fair. Even for Britishers also, this is not going to work. They understood that okay, this system is going to be a complete failure. So ultimately, in 1772, what they did is they ended this dual government. They ended this dual government. Warren Hastings was a governor during that particular. So these were the arguments which they were saying as reason to end this uh, in this particular dual government system. One is inefficiency. Inefficiency and disorder. Inefficiency and disorder. So the Nawab had no real power. So no real power means without power, how will he govern? So ultimately it led to weak governance. And also Mir Jafar was not someone who has any sort of ambition. Mir Qasim at least had this ambition to to modernize the army, modernize the economy and all. But he doesn't have that interest also, and he doesn't have that authority also, and it led to ultimately widespread corruption because Britishers were having all authority even in the administration also, even though that is not in the paper, it was there. Okay, economic mismanagement was there, exploitation was there, that led to the great famine of Bengal famine of 1770. Okay, and even exposed the flaws in the system. Britishers also understood this is not going to work, and now they wanted a more centralized control. Okay, now as of now this is indirect ruling. So Britishers are thinking why we have to see. Everybody knows we are only ruling. Everybody knows we are only ruling. Everything is under our control. So now let's make it official. Let's go with a centralized control itself. Let's go with a centralized control itself. Why we need someone known as Nawab? So now Nawab is cut. Okay, so now they wanted to go with an indirect rule or maybe the centralized control in both revenue as well as administration. Okay, so this is something which they wanted, but from here onwards they are starting their expansionist policy. Expansionist policy. So maybe this we can consider it as a transitional phase. This we can consider it as a transitional phase in British policy. Earlier they were focusing on trade only. Okay, they wanted authority which should be helping for the trade. Now they want everything. Now they want trade. Now they want territorial control. Everything. They wanted everything. Okay. So ultimately in 1772, Warren Hastings, who was the governor that area, he officially abolished the this dual government system. Okay, so after that only some of the major acts, which are regulating act of 17, this was abolished in 1772. So after that this regulating act and all these things will be coming. Okay, that we'll be discussing in our later classes. So yeah, this is actually a question which was asked in UPSC 2022. Why did the armies of British East India Company, mostly comprising of Indian soldiers, win consistently against the more numerous and better equipped armies of the Indian rulers? We have already discussed, like this was asked in UPSC 2022. So we have already discussed regarding we have already discussed that Sirajuddaular's army was very much powerful, very much powerful. Even they were able to outnumber this Britishers also, but ultimately they only won. Okay, so like that, even later period also many important Britishers are joining hands with many people, and even they were expanding themselves. Okay, so we'll see some of the important wars which has happened. This question you can note down and you can write the answers also based on how we have discussed. You can write the answers also. Okay, all right. So we are moving on to other territories. Okay, so Britishers started with the eastern part of India. Started with eastern part of India, that was Bengal. So they did their conquest in Bengal. So they were able to get the administration. Even the officially itself, they were able to get the administration. Economy was in their control. They had the trade monopoly of that particular region also. Now they wanted to further expand. Okay, so they had no intention to stop with Bengal alone. They wanted to further expand to wherever this area. They had, even though they had territorial ambitions, but still mostly it started with the economic ambitions only. Okay, so one of the important areas in which Britishers had eye was the Mysore region. So there they fought some of the important war, that is Anglo-Mysore War of 1767 to 1799. Okay, all right. We'll see what is a brief background of Mysore? I've already discussed regarding Mysore, but still again we'll go with a revision. Okay, so Mysore was initially a vassal state of Vijayanagara Empire. Vassals means what? Vassals mean someone who will be a who will be controlling all this thing, like a generalship, like that way. Okay, so it was a vassal state of Vijayanagara Empire. Mysore was a vassals of feudatories of Vijayanagara Empire. These vassals, this term is actually very much popular in this medieval Europe. So they'll be obligated to serve this monarch. Monarch, who is a monarch again? So Vijayanagara. Okay. So ultimately Vijayanagara, when Vijayanagara fell in this Battle of Talikota, Vijayanagara Empire declined in 1565. In 1565, the Battle of Talikota, Vijayanagara Empire declined. Okay. So what happened was, like, after the Battle of Talikota, this Mysore became powerful. Regional powers, like we have already said in the case of Mughals, Bengal. Okay, Nawab of Bengal, what he did after the death of Aurangzeb, he asserted independence. So regional powers, even the Awadh also the same thing only happened. Okay, so like that way, after the decline of the major power, that is Vijayanagara Empire, they asserted independence. Okay, so in the Battle of Talikota, 1565. Okay, all right. So the dynasty who was ruling this area was Wadayars. It was Wadayars. Okay, so it was Wadayar dynasty which was having the control of this Mysore. So they were the vassals of this Mysore kingdom. So they gained full independence in 1610. And the one of the most important Wadayar king was Raja Wadayar I. Raja Wadayar I. Okay, Raja Wadayar I. So he was one of the major kings who started this Wadayar dynasty. So what they did is, like, they shifted the capital of Mysore from Mysore to Srirangapatnam for strategic reasons. Later, during the later ruler period also, Srirangapatnam became a very important area. Okay, after Raja Wadayar I, another important Raja is Chikka Devaraja Wadayar. Okay, Chikka means small. Chikka Devaraja Wadayar. Chikka Devaraja Wadayar. So he became the ruler. Again, he also built a very strong army, and even the weapons they were using and all were little more advanced compared to the other states. So ultimately, what happened, when the army became powerful, the military commanders, they gained high authority. Especially during the period of Chikka Devaraja Wadayar. And one of the most prominent soldiers who slowly started to become a prominent prominent commander during this Mysore period was Hyder Ali. It was Hyder Ali. Okay, so Hyder Ali, what happened? Slowly, Wadayar dynasty also became declined. But still Hyder Ali retained his position as a military commander. In 1671, he overthrew the Wadayar. Ultimately, Wadayar dynasty was it, but he became the de facto ruler. Hyder Ali became the de facto ruler of Mysore. Okay, and he established and after that Mysore was having another journey in history. Okay, all right. Now let's see what is actually why Britishers aimed this Mysore. Okay, why Britishers aimed this Mysore? What were the cause of the war? So after the Bengal conquest, the Britishers wanted to expand. So that was the main purpose. Okay, especially in the South India. Now they have full control over the eastern part of India. The Calcutta region, they have full control. Now they wanted to expand to southern part of India. Now they have some areas in Madras, but other than that, they wanted to expand control over the southern part of India. And Mysore was one of the richest. Ultimately, whatever the Britishers do, they wanted to get money. That was their main purpose. And Mysore was one of the wealthiest in the world itself. Mysore was one of the wealthiest, and also it is having strategic importance is also there. Strategic importance is Mysore was controlling the key trade routes especially in this Malabar coast. And in the Deccan Plateau. Okay, Malabar coast as well as Deccan Plateau, and even the Arabian Sea was also there. Okay, Arabian Sea is also one of the important areas. So they had a huge, enormous economic wealth. Why? Because spice trade. Mysore was involved in spice trade, and now also if you go to this Karnataka region, especially Mysore region, you can see that sandalwood is something which is very much popular in Mysore. So their economic wealth came from one spices, another one sandalwood. Spices was there, another one sandalwood was there. Okay, so these are two important things which gave Mysore the authority over any other kingdom. Okay, and ultimately when they have authority, when they have wealth, who will be targeting them? It will be the Britishers. Now also, if you take the world, it is like that. Whenever some country is having oil, some major global powers will be going there and they will be attacking. The same thing happened during that period also. Okay, imperialism, this is something which is very common to imperialism. Okay, all right. Another important thing was also there, how this became a geopolitical rivalry. Usually, Britishers, they were fighting with the Bengal. It was not part of the geopolitical rivalry. But here, another geopolitical factor is also coming. So it is actually the Mysore kingdom, or maybe Hyder Ali and all. They were having very good connections with the French. They were having very good connection with the French. Later period, Napoleon and all is also becoming part of this Anglo. I mean, like his influence is also slowly there in but now they have already sent the French back. Now the French was only in this Puducherry region. Only French had some influence. Puducherry, that Mahi region, and only French has some influence. Now they are thinking the Britishers had this fear that the Mysore's alliance with France, so that even poses a geopolitical threat to the Britishers. Okay, now only Britishers are there. Now they have the monopoly. No Dutch is there, no Portugal is there, no French is there, no one is there. Now they have the ultimate authority over this particular region. Okay, so this is part of a geopolitical rivalry. Even later, Tipu Sultan and all, they sought the militarism. We will be coming to that. Okay, another important thing, what this Chikka Wadayar did is he started militarizing. Sorry, there's military. He started expanding, more advanced things and all is coming. Hyder Ali also followed the same thing. Even Hyder Ali's military tactics is very famous. He modernized the army, and during that particular period itself, they were having a rocket warfare was also there. Okay, rocket warfare was also there. So like that way, they were actually having advanced military and even the advanced weaponry was also there. Okay, usually the kings they'll be fighting with the swords and all, but here it was not like they were having cannons was there. So like that, they were already an advanced force and they had the money to do that also. Okay, another important thing why these Britishers aimed this area is because they were having this Mysore was having rivals in their neighborhood itself. Okay, Mysore was having rivals in their neighborhood itself, especially the Nizam of Hyderabad and even this Marathas. So they were also not having good relation um, with this Mysore. Okay, all right. So what this Britishers did is they allied with this neighbors. So this is something which a tactic which Britishers always use. They'll form alliances with the this enemies. Okay, alliances with the people who are enemies to their enemies. Okay, enemy is a friend. So like that way. Okay, that led to the first Anglo-Mysore war. Okay, so Britishers already had this eye over this Mysore. Okay, so now what they did is like in 1766. In 1766, in 1766, Britishers allied with the rivals of Mysore. So who all were there? One, it was Nizams. It was a Nizams. Another one, it was a Marathas. Okay, so Marathas, they aligned with the Nizams, they allied with the Marathas. Okay, and they formed a treaty. So Britain exploited all these divisions. Okay, another thing is Hyder Ali's campaigns. Mysore was some kingdom which was having expansionist dreams. Okay, for example, Bengal was not going for an expansion. Awadh was also not going for an expansion. Why? Because they were not powerful compared to. So they somehow wanted to strengthen their authority in that particular territory only. But Mysore was not like that. Mysore wanted to gain more areas. Here itself you can see that what is actually the expanse of this Mysore region. So somehow they wanted to expand to both north as well as south as well as east. That's why they had this Hyderabad. So they were under, I mean, this Hyderabad was also under threat of this Mysore. North, if you go, the Marathas were also under the threat of Mysore. South, if you go, the Travancore was also under the threat of this Mysore. Okay, so they somehow wanted to use this rivals against the Mysore itself. Okay, so they exploited this divisions, and also the British was worried about Hyder Ali's growing power. Okay, Hyder Ali's growing power, and also Hyder Ali wanted to challenge Britishers itself. Okay, he went and to Madras. He went to Madras and he even threatened to capture the Fort St. George in Madras itself. So all these things made Britishers worry. Okay, so that led to this war. That led to this war, and in 1767 they had a war. Okay, British and their allies Marathas and Nizam versus Hyder Ali. They had a war. Hyder Ali, earlier he was threatening only. Now in 1769, what happened was it in the war he advanced towards Madras and he captured this Fort St. George. He captured this Fort St. George. Okay, this was a British stronghold of the fort which Britishers were having in this Madras region. They were not able to resist this Hyder Ali's attack and even failed to receive the support from the allies, because Marathas were not that powerful. Nizam was also not that powerful. So this facing this heavy loss and even fearing the fall of Madras, what they did is like they said, okay, let's go with peace. Okay, this is something. This is also another important British strategy. They will, once they find that okay we are going to lose, they'll say that okay let's go with the peace negotiation. So ultimately the war ended. It was, we cannot say that it was Hyder Ali's victory, but still Hyder Ali made a lot of advances, but still it ended inconclusively with the Treaty of Madras. It's not like that Hyder Ali only captured it, even Britishers also captured some of the territories of Mysore, but still ultimately Hyder Ali was only able to make a lot of damage to the Britishers. So they don't want to continue with that particular damage. Okay, some of the key agreements, some of the key provisions of the treaty was, one, they will be restoring the territory. Okay, they will be restoring the territory. So Hyder Ali returned Fort St. George. Fort St. George was returned to this Britishers, and also Britishers returned the Mysore lands also. Another important clause in this was there will be a mutual defense. They ensured that there will be mutual support from external threats. That is one of the important things which was mentioned in this treaty. So it is something which is very much important. Why? Because in future the Britain was fearing that Hyder Ali will be making alliance with the French and they will be attacking. So that's why they have put this clause also, because external means it can be from any kingdom. Okay, especially from something which can be of European influence. French and Britain at that time itself, they were even French was also a modern army. Even though they were not having much influence in this Indian subcontinent, they were also someone who can threaten this Britain, especially during this Napoleonic era. Okay, so this is also something which made Britain fear. Okay, but still, even though all these things happened, it was there were tensions. There were tensions between both Mysore as well as the Britishers. Okay, and also the Britishers, they never kept their word. They never kept their word. They failed to honor the mutual defense clause. So that led to Hyder Ali's resentment. That led to Hyder Ali's resentment, and that ultimately led to, later became one of the reasons for the second Anglo-Mysore war. One of the reasons for the second Anglo-Mysore war. So ultimately the British betrayed. Ultimately the British betrayed the Hyder Ali. Why? Because in 1771, Marathas and Mysore was not having proper relations. The Marathas and Mysore were not having the proper relations. So in 1771, Marathas attacked Mysore. 1771, Marathas attacked Mysore. Okay, and there was a treaty like the kingdom will be there will be one person will be helping other person in case of a conflict. So the British did not agree with this. British did not act based on that particular clause. Marathas attacked Mysore and Britain did not help Hyder Ali despite the treaty. Okay, so it was kind of something which was a breach of honor, and also Britain was interfering in this Mysore trade. Okay, Mysore was obviously, it is a very rich state with heavy trade in this spices as well as this sandalwood. Okay, so the Britain wanted this, the Britain wanted to get this money also. So that was also something which Hyder Ali felt that this is not going to be good. So this betrayal increased Hyder Ali distrust to of the British. Okay, so ultimately Hyder Ali slowly started to militarize. Hyder Ali slowly started militarization. Okay, militarization, and even he modernized army. He further modernized the army, and ultimately he formed an alliance with France, which the Britain already feared. Okay, so he aligned with the France. This Britain, again at that time also Britain and France were not having a proper relation. So this British in the this led to Britain becoming very much wary about this Mysore, especially this Mysore's expansionist strategy. Okay, so even they supported, again they supported this Mysore's enemies. Again it was a Nizam of Hyderabad was there. Again ultimately again the tensions rise, and ultimately which led to the war in 1780. Okay, which led to the war in 1780. So even though Mysore achieved a lot of significant victories, especially in the Battle of Polyroot, Mysore achieved a lot of significant victories. Britain, after that, Britain and their alliances, they were able to capture many of the areas which Mysore was at. Even French was there in Mahi. Okay, we have already discussed in our last session that French was having connections in Mahi, Yanam, Puducherry. These areas French was having connections. So the Britain captured Mahi. Okay, so that was also something which angered Hyder Ali, since he was having relations with the French. So this directly triggered the second Anglo-Mysore War in 1780. Okay, so Hyder Ali, even though he had initial success in, especially in this Battle of Polyroot and all, 1782 Hyder Ali died. 1782 Hyder Ali died. Now there is actually a misconception that Hyder Ali died fighting the Britishers, but that is not the case. Most of the historians are agreeing that Hyder Ali died due to something like cancer. Okay, something like cancer. So Hyder Ali had a very able son. Hyder Ali had a very able son. He was Tipu Sultan, who was even more popular than Hyder Ali itself. Okay. Okay, so ultimately what happened was, like, again a treaty was signed. Again this was also kind of considered as a stalemate. Okay, why? Because again Britishers also gave back their territories. Even Mysore also gave back their territories. Okay, and the Britishers, Sir Eyrecourt, he was a person who was behind this British success. If you want to call it as a success, it is Sir Eyrecourt. Okay, it was Sir Eyrecourt who led the British success. So 1782, Hyder Ali died and Tipu Sultan took over. Tipu also followed the same path only. He continued the war. And he was able to successfully resist this British advance. But still, again, it led to stalemate, and they arrived at the Treaty of Mangalore. Okay, Treaty of Mangalore. So again, both of them returned their captured territories. But however, again, like what happened after the first war, what happened after the second war, they were still not able to reach any sort of agreement. Still tensions were there. So that ultimately set the stage for the third Anglo-Mysore war. Okay, that led to the third Anglo-Mysore war. Here the Britishers were little silent. But still Tipu Sultan had their expansionist ambitions. Okay, Hyder Ali was having an expansionist ambitions, which led to him becoming the rivals of this Hyderabad and even the Marathas and Travancore and all. Even Tipu Sultan also had the same ambitions. Okay, Tipu Sultan had the same ambitions, but at that time, the Mysore was marked as a threat. The Britishers already saw Mysore as a major threat, and they sought allies against Tipu Sultan. Like Tipu Sultan with the Marathas as well as the Nizam of Hyderabad. Okay, again like him. Hyder Ali, the Tipu Sultan also didn't trust Britishers. They know that, okay, even if you're doing a treaty also, later Britishers will cheat. Hyder Ali was almost sure that this is going to happen. Okay, so Tipu Sultan again further strengthened their military. Tipu Sultan further strengthened their military, and again Tipu Sultan had alliances with French, especially this during that period Napoleon and all is becoming popular in this French region. So he continued his alliance with the France, but Britishers again they formed a coalition with Marathas as well as the Nizam of Hyderabad. But there was a triggering point. There was a triggering point which led to the this war. Okay, so that was the Tipu Sultan attacking Travancore. Tipu Sultan attacking Travancore. You know where Travancore is? This is Travancore. Okay, so this is Mysore. This is Travancore towards the south. Okay, Travancore was an ally of British. Travancore was an ally of British. So this is like they are attacking British itself. Okay, you know right now this is how this NATO and all is working. If an ally is being attacked at that time, obviously they will be coming up to serve. But still, once Britain and Mysore also signed a treaty in which they will be allies, but still Britain didn't go with their promise. They didn't support. Why? Because you know at that time Britain was having connections with Marathas. Marathas only attacked this Mysore, right? So maybe because of that. Okay, but here that case was not there. Travancore was directly an ally of the Britishers only. Okay, so they attacked the Mysore attacked Travancore, and that triggered the Britishers. They already have this triple alliance. They already had this triple alliance. They already had this triple alliance, and this triple alliance again they attacked the Mysore. They directly attacked the Mysore. Okay. So in 1719 again the war started. That was a third Anglo-Mysore war. The 1719 the third Anglo-Mysore war began. Okay, all right. So it was a very coordinated attack, and they attacked. Marathas can attack from the north. Even Nizam can attack from here. Even Travancore, Britishers were in the Travancore, so they can attack from all the sides. And Mysore was actually struggling against this larger coalition. Now they are powerful. Even the Britishers also know how this Mysore's tactics is working. Now Britishers already know what all weapons this Tipu Sultan is having. You know, he has been weaponizing, or maybe this he was militarizing this army, militarizing. So obviously now they know how to do this. At that time, Cornwallis was heading this British East India Company. Cornwallis was heading this British East India Company. So he captured several of this Mysore's fort. Okay, 1791 Britishers reached Srirangapatna. We have already heard this name because you know during the Vodaya dynasty the capital was shifted to Srirangapatna. Okay, so the Mysore capital, the British captured this Mysore capital, that is Srirangapatna. Okay, but still Tipu was not ready to give up. He fought. He ultimately fought, but ultimately the Britishers won, and he had to negotiate a peace treaty to avoid the total defeat. But still, Tipu Sultan was completely devastated by this. So ultimately, Treaty of Srirangapatna or Seringamapatnam. Okay, Treaty of Seringamapatnam was signed in 1792. Half of his kingdom, almost half or maybe more than that of his kingdom, was surrendered to British. But he don't want to go with an entire washout. So that's why he signed this treaty, because it was a very coordinated attack, massive war, and even he had to give he had to give up a lot of indemnity also. Money was also given. Mysore was one of the most powerful and wealthiest kingdom, right? So that was also given to this Britishers. So that issue was also there. Okay, all right. So but still Mysore, he was not. So this led to this Britishers gaining more control over the southern part of India, more control over the southern part of India. Okay, all right. So again, my Tipu Sultan was not ready to give up. He again wanted to ultimately somehow he wanted to defeat this Britishers. Okay, all right. So that led to the fourth Anglo-Mysore war. Okay, he was getting up and again he was slowly militarizing, and at that time Wellesley was very much powerful. Wellesley had alliances. He somehow wanted to eliminate Mysore, and his aim was also to kill Tipu Sultan itself. He somehow wanted to remove Tipu Sultan from the scene, and also he wanted to wash out his entire lineage also. Okay, so that ultimately he did. Okay, again Tipu Sultan went to French for the help. Okay, so during this period and all, Napoleon again was becoming much more powerful. 1799 again the war happened. 1799, again the war happened. Wellesley set out for an all-out invasion. Okay, earlier itself they were very much powerful. Now they are even more powerful. Now even most of the territory was also under their control. Okay, now here you can see that how Mysore has been shrunk. How Mysore has been shrunk. Now this is a British dominion. This is a British dominion. This is a British dominion. South they have Travancore. Again they are also having coalition with the alliance with this Britishers. Again here Marathas are also there, and after that Nizam is also there. So completely the superiority was under the control of Britain only. It was even a very massive war. Okay. Even Tipu had to send his two sons as hostage to the Britain. Okay, so this weakened this Mysore, and but still Tipu Sultan was not able to. Tipu Sultan didn't give up the resistance. Okay, he completely fought. So ultimately, he died in the battle. Okay, defending this capital Srirangapatnam. Tipu Sultan died, and the British now completely annexed this Mysore. Okay, earlier they had control only. Earlier had that control only, but now it is completely under. It is now a British territory. Okay. Here also again what they did is like they don't want, even though they are only ruling, somehow they wanted how they did the dual government. So like that way they somehow wanted to reinstate one dynasty. Earlier you know right, we have discussed it was a Wadaya dynasty. It was a Wadaya dynasty. Okay, so now they have reinstated the Wadaya dynasty, but obviously like a puppet state. It was just a puppet state under the Wadaya ruler. Okay, under the Wadaya ruler who is having some lineage in this Wadaya dynasty. Okay, alright. So what they did is like Wellesley adopted a new policy known as Subsidiary Alliance. They adopted a new policy known as Subsidiary Alliance, and they ensured that, this we will be discussing later, they ensured that Mysore is signing the Subsidiary Alliance Treaty. Mysore is signing the Subsidiary Alliance Treaty. So forcing this Indian state to accept, this is something which forces the Indian state to accept the Britishers' control. Okay. Alright, we will see that. So what are the impact and consequences of this fall of Mysore and Tipu Sultan's death? Okay, so ultimately Tipu Sultan was a major threat, or maybe either early and later Tipu Sultan was a major threat of this Britishers in the south. Now completely south is under the control of Britishers. Okay, east they already have control in the east. Now south also they have complete control. Okay, and obviously Mysore was one of the wealthiest states. Mysore was one of the wealthiest states of. So they have control over Mysore's resources also. Okay, so that is also there, and even eliminating the resistance. No resistance, nothing. Now strategic control. Now control over the trade, control over the spices, control over the sandalwood, and everything is under the control of Britishers. Okay, so this is what happened. Okay, all right. Now we'll see what is actually the policy which was brought by Wellesley, that is known as Subsidiary Alliances. Okay, Subsidiary Alliance. So we have already discussed like Mysore was forced to sign this Subsidiary Alliance. So this was something which was introduced by Lord Wellesley in 1798. The ultimate aim was to expand the British control in India. Okay, so this became prominent after this Mysore's defeat. Okay, 1799. Alright, so what are the key features? It was introduced by Lord Wellesley. It was introduced by Lord Wellesley in 1790. Okay, basically this subsidiary alliance means expansion without annexation. Expansion without annexation. Annexation means what? Direct territorial control will be there. Annexation means direct territorial control will be there. Now they don't want this direct territorial control. They again it will be I mean like it will be an extra liability for them to have a territorial control. Now they don't want, but now somehow they wanted expansion. Everything should be under the control of British. For example, Travancore, it's under the control of Britishers only. They already have this alliance, and even this Mysore is also having Mysore. Even though who is ruling there, it is Wadaya dynasty, but ultimately who is having the power? It is a Britishers who is having the power. So that is like that way they wanted to have a de facto control over all this areas. So to dominate the Indian rulers without any annexation, and also they need money for financial and military control. They need money for financial and military control. So that was also there. How they were making the money? Because when the state is signing the subsidiary alliance, they had to ensure that the British troops are stationed there. The military presence, the British military presence should be there in that particular area. So that is also there. And also it is not like they are giving it for free. Okay, as a help, since we are in the alliance, we are giving it. Not like that. For stationing this troops, they had to pay the money. They had to pay the cost, which is the military expenses. This rulers have to pay. So that is also another important thing. And another important thing is that the Britishers were wary of this rulers seeking the foreign help. For example, Mysore was looking for foreign help. He was not just looking for French help. Even he was looking for the Ottoman, and even he was having alliances. Even he was having connection with the other Muslim rulers also. So somehow they were. If you are going to Europe, means even the Britishers and the other states are also having almost a similar powers. So if they are also getting this power, means ultimately Britain will be under the threat. Okay. So somehow, to avoid this also, they were looking for that was also one of the provisions for this particular treaty. Okay. So and also this weakened Indian state. Most of the Indian states were weakened. Okay, especially this Hyderabad, Awadh, Mysore. So all these things are weakened. Why? Because no major ruler was there. The major ruler was there. So they wanted to take advantage of their weaknesses. They wanted to take advantage of their weakness. So Britain will be saying, okay, now you are a weak state. Now you also have to understand that you are a weak state, but who will protect us? Who will protect you? We will protect. Okay, so we will be protecting you against this particular rule. So that was Britain's policy against this. Okay, so under the system, the Indian rulers were forced to accept this British military protection. It is not like they can refuse it. It's something offer which you cannot refuse. So that like that way. Okay, they were forced to accept this British military protection and no other alliances. They can only have alliances with the states which Britain is having alliances. Other states they cannot have an alliance. Okay, so ultimately all the rulers were reduced as mere puppets. Okay, mere puppets. So this is what happened with the Britain. Okay, so it effectively reduced Indian rulers to the puppets which are controlled by this British dominance. Okay, so these are the states in which the Britain was having alliance. Okay, Britain was having the subsidiary alliance. One is it was the Nizam of Hyderabad. They were having the treaty with Nizam of Hyderabad. Again, they were also forced to sign this subsidiary alliance in 1798. Okay, again it was Wellesley's threat. Wellesley's threat that they will be having a military intervention. So that is why they were forced to sign this treaty. Okay, after that it was Mysore. Mysore, we have already discussed what is the story of Mysore. So again, the puppet ruler was Krishna Raja Vodayar III. Krishna Raja Vodayar III. Okay, so this was with the Nizams. Okay, this treaty with Mysore was Krishna Raja Vodayar. Krishna Raja Vodayar III. Okay, same way they had treaties with Awadh in 1801, Sindh in 1803, and finally the treaty with Marathas in 1805. Maratha war and all we will be discussing later. Okay, all right. So ultimately, most of the areas you can see here from the map itself, you can see all these areas Britain was not directly controlling, but still ultimately the control was under the hands of Britain only. So what was the impact of this? What was impact of this? It led to the loss of sovereignty. Sovereignty means what? We call a state sovereign when they have all the control. For example, India is a sovereign state. India is not having any other control. Okay, so ultimately they lost the sovereignty. Now king is not at all a sovereign body. Okay, they are just a figurehead. They are just a figurehead, and who will be controlling it? Britain will be controlling. How Britain will be controlling? They will be having a British resident will be there. Okay, British resident will be a British resident will be stationed in that area. A British resident will be stationed in that particular area. So that's how they were controlling this. And also economic drain was also there. Economic drain was also there. Economic drain means they had to pay for these British troops, and even subsidies strained this Indian finances. So even that also led to this some of the secession, because ultimately the resources will be lost. Ultimately resources will be lost, and they will not be able to pay for the military. And what will happen? What was the clause? If they are not able to pay for the military, that territory will be annexed. Okay, based on this clause only they were doing. And military dependency, even though the kingdoms were having their own military, they lost this military autonomy. Now British troops are only controlling everything, and they'll, even if British troops are saying you go and cut the head of the ruler, they might do that. So military dependency was also there. All this led to widespread discontent. All this led to widespread discontent among this people, both the people as well as the rulers. So that was a case. Okay. Alright, so again we'll see how other states were also conquered by this Britishers, and next it was a chance of Marathas. Okay, now Mysore was already annexed, now it is Marathas. Marathas were also under the British threat only. Okay, however, so we have already discussed that Marathas were an ally of Britishers, especially during the war of Anglo-Mysore war. Okay, Marathas were already having issues with Mysore, so that is why Britain was also having issues with Mysore. So they had an alliance. They had an alliance and they were actually friends. But somehow Britain cannot be trusted. They wanted to expand. Somehow they wanted to expand even at the cost of their allies. Okay. So after defeating Mysore in 1799, imposing subsidiary alliance, Britain again wanted to dominate the central as well as western part of India. Now south is safe, east is safe, Bengal is safe under the hands of Britain. South is safe. Mysore is complete. Mysore, Travancore, everything is under the control of Britain. Now they want the control of Western and Central India. Western and Central India. So that is where the Marathas were ruling. They were the last and major power resisting. Major Indian power who were having control over that particular area, and somehow Britain wanted to include over that area also. Okay. Alright. So this is actually regarding Marathas. We have already discussed regarding these Marathas. But still again, let me quickly go through it. The major areas in this Marathas were there, that is in this western as well as central part of India. Okay. So regarding the foundation of Maratha Empire, it was founded by Chhatrapati Shivaji. It was founded by Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj. Okay. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, he only was the founder of this Maratha Empire. Okay. In the 17th century, Chhatrapati Shivaji. So during the Mughal period and all, Marathas were able to form a very Marathas were able to give a huge resistance to the Britishers. Mughal rulers. Okay, Chhatrapati, he was having a very strong military, even very strong navy. Now also many of the idols of Indian navy are also influenced by this Maratha only. Again, administrative reforms, taxation, everything was very much important regarding this Chhatrapati Shivaji. Okay, he fought against both Mughals as well as his Portuguese. But what happened after the Shivaji's period? What happened after this Shivaji's period? Post Shivaji's death in 1680, the Maratha Empire underwent a phase of internal strife. Okay, internal strife means again internal issues will be there. Slowly, again this rulers will also become big. So at that time, who came to prominence was, it was the Peshwas. It was the Peshwas. Peshwas who came to prominence. So they were like the prime ministers, the ministerial level. So this led to Maratha confederacies. Okay, this led to Maratha confederacies, and slowly some regional factions also started to begin. For example, in this Pune region, we can see that it is Peshwas in this Pune region. In the Gwalior region, we have Scindia. In this Gwalior region, we have the Scindia. In the Indore region, we have the Bhosle. Indore region, we have the Indore region, we have the Holkars and Bhosles. Okay, Holkars and Bhosles. Baroda region, we have the Gaikwad. Gujarat region, we have the Gaikwad. So like that way, Marathas were divided into different confederacies. Okay, and slowly Marathas declined. Due to internal power struggle, especially the Third Battle of Panipat. Especially during the Third Battle of Panipat. Okay, Third Battle of Panipat. Even it was against 1761 against Afghans as well as the Durrani Empire. Slowly the Maratha weakened. Marathas were weakened, but again they remained a major force in India. Okay, so this is the regarding Marathas. These were the Peshwas. Bajirao first, Balaji Bajirao, and after that Mahaji Shinde. Okay, Mahaji Shinde was one of the again a powerful ruler in this Maratha. Okay, alright. So now let's see what led to this war between this Marathas and Britain. Okay, again British aim was to expand their territory. They don't have any direct issue with this Maratha. Somehow they wanted to interfere. Somehow they wanted to interfere in this Maratha territory. That was their only purpose. Somehow they wanted to interfere in this Maratha territory. So after the death of there was a Peshwa. It was Madhavrao. Madhavrao was a Peshwa. Madhavrao won. Madhavrao I was a Peshwa. So after Madhavrao I, he was one of the powerful Peshwa. So in 1771 he died. Madhavrao died, and again Maratha had a succession crisis. We have seen the succession crisis in this for the Habsburg throne in Austria and all. So again here also succession crisis was there. Okay, succession crisis was there, and one person who was who was aiming for this Maratha throne, that was Narayan Rao, and another one was Raghunath Rao. Narayan Rao as well as Raghunath Rao. So these were the two important people who were aiming for the Maratha crown. So this Madhav Rao's younger brother, Narayan Rao was Madhav Rao's younger brother. So he became the Peshwa. He became the Peshwa, but still Raghunath Rao was very powerful, or Rekhoba. Raghunath Rao or Rekhoba was very powerful. In 1773, this Raghunath Rao's people assassinated this Narayan Rao. Again, this led to a struggle between Narayan Rao as well as the Maratha Council. Okay. So decisions regarding this Marathas will be taken in a council known as the Barbai Council. It will be taken in the Barbai Council. So this Barbai Council was against this Raghunath Rao. Barbai Council was against the Raghunath Rao. So this led to struggle between Raghunath Rao and this Barbai Council. Okay, so this Barbai Council recommended Madhav Rao. Barbai Council recommended Madhav Rao, but Raghunath Rao already assassinated the legal heir. Okay, so what this Raghunath Rao did is like he went to the Britishers. He sought the British support, and he signed a treaty known as the Treaty of Surat. He signed a treaty known as the Treaty of Surat in 1775. So this led to with whom? With the Britishers. Okay. So who is signing with whom? It was the Britishers and Raghunath Rao. Britishers signed the treaty with Raghunath Rao. Britishers signed the treaty with Raghunath Rao, and again what he did is like he gave this as a reward. He gave the Salsette and Basain. Salsette is an island in Mumbai. So that was given as a gift to Britishers, as a reward to Britishers for helping this person. In return, Britishers ensured that he'll be given all the military support. Why? Because this Raghunath Rao was not having any military support from them, because all military is under the control of the major Barbai Council and all. So he need military support. Somehow he need the military support. So this giving of this territory as well as supporting through the military and all this provoked this Marathas. So this ultimately led to the war. Okay. So this ultimately led to the first war of first Anglo-Maratha war. Okay. So the Britain they were supporting Raghunath Rao. He fought the Maratha forces, and Maratha forces were led by the Mahajis India. In 1779. In 1779, the Marathas defeated the Britishers. Maratha defeated the Britishers at the Battle of Vadgaon. Marathas defeated the Britishers at the Battle of Vadgaon. Okay, so it was the British forces against Mahajis India. Mahajis India was one of the most powerful powerful commanders in this Maratha itself. 1799, the Marathas even defeated the Britishers in the Battle of Vadgaon, and they even forced them to sign. It was a very humiliating treaty. They forced them to sign this Treaty of Vadgaon. Okay, so based on this Treaty of Vadgaon, they were supposed to return all the captured territory. Whichever territory they have captured, they were supposed to return all this territories. Okay, again this British, but this Britishers, they didn't accept this treaty. Okay, especially the Calcutta government, they didn't accept it. No, they said no to this treaty of Vadgaon. We are not going to give back any territory. That's what they were saying, and they again further resumed the fighting. And also even the Marathas are also slowly having this French support, when they were also slowly having this French support. Okay, even so that was also there. French alliance was also there. This was also something which concerned the British. Why? Because French can supply the arms, French can supply the arms, French can supply even advanced things and all. French can supply. Okay, so ultimately they again signed a treaty, that is Treaty of Salbai. Okay, this fighting was going prolonged without any, without the Marathas were not winning, even the French was not winning. Earlier, Britishers were defeated and they were forced to sign the Treaty of Vadgaon, but they rejected it and again they started fighting. That fighting was going on. Ultimately, that war somehow was ended, but without much result. Okay, so what they did is like Madhav Rao too, Raghunath Rao, Britishers were supporting Raghunath Rao or Ragoba, but ultimately they said, okay, fine, let it be Madhav Rao itself, let him be the rightful Peshwa. This was accepted, and also they said we will not be fighting. Who all will not be fighting? The Britishers as well as Marathas, they will not be involved in any fighting for 20 years. Okay, so that is known as the Treaty of Salbai. In the Treaty of Salbai in 1782, they said, okay, we will not be going for any fighting. Okay, so this was a peaceful peace agreement. We can call it as a peace agreement. Britishers supporting their support for Raghunath Rao or Ragoba, but still the Britain kept the territories. Raghunath Rao gave them the Salsette. Okay, but other territories they returned. Okay, except Salsette, other territory, the Salsette island in near Bombay. Other than that, Britain gave everything. Okay, all right. So now the British understood that direct intervention in this Maratha politics was little risky. It was little risky, and the Maratha strength under this Mahaji Sindhya became a most powerful. Why? Because he was somehow one thing he was not able to. One thing is like earlier he was able to defeat this Britishers. Another one, he even forced them to sign a peace treaty, that too for 20 years. So Mahaji Sindhya's popularity grew and he became the most powerful personality in this Maratha itself. And right, Marathas and Mughals were not having proper relations. Now with this Mahaji Sindhya under the Marathas, he became the protector of the Mughal Empire. Okay, he became the protector of this Mughal Empire, but that led to a temporary peace. Okay, that led to a temporary peace agreement. But still, tensions remain. Same like what happened with, even though they signed a peace treaty, it's not like, okay, Maratha will be sitting there, British will be sitting there. No, nothing. They'll be having tea, nothing like that. The tensions were remaining. That ultimately led to the Second Anglo-Maratha War. That led to the Second Anglo-Maratha War. Okay. Here again, another issue is happening. Here also, earlier Madhav Rao was a Peshwa, right? Here they have agreed that, okay, Madhav Rao will be the Peshwa. But what happened? After that, Madhav Rao also died. After that, Madhav Rao too also died in 1796. In 1796, Madhav Rao died. Okay, Madhav Rao died. Again, it led to internal conflict within the Peshwa. So various factions like the Sindhyas, we have discussed Sindhyas were there, Holkars were there, Bhoslas were there. So again, everyone contested for the Peshwa throne. Here also Britain thought, okay, this is a good time to intervene in this particular politics. Okay, so with the East India Company backing a person known as Baji Rao too. Again, whatever they did for this Raghunath Rao, they did for Baji Rao too also. So they signed a treaty. Baji Rao signed a treaty with the Britain, that is known as the Treaty of Bazaine. The Treaty of Bazaine, it was signed in 1802. Okay, 1802 the treaty was signed. Okay. So again, this treaty also provided the Peshwa with British military protection, but also granted the Britain right to station troops in the Maratha territory. So ultimately, this effectively made Baji Rao to the British ally. Britain the greater control over this Maratha affair. So this is what happened. So what happened was in very important, two important wars. One is the Battle of Asai and another one is the Battle of Laswari. Okay, Battle of Asai. Asai is in the near this present day Aurangabad. Aurangabad in Maharashtra. Again, Britain won here. Okay, very important verses coming here. That is Arthur Wellesley. Arthur Wellesley. Okay, in this Battle of Asai, Arthur Wellesley is coming, and Arthur Wellesley, later the Duke of Wellington. Okay, so he only led this British forces to victory there. And again later another important war is also there, that is Battle of Laswari. This is near Rajasthan, Kota in Rajasthan. Again here also another important victory was there for this British forces. But ultimately the Marathas forces were weakened and British controlled almost all the territories. Okay, so after this defeat, British annexed the significant territories from Marathas, and these included even the parts of Gujarat, Odisha. They already had Gujarat, and even they wanted control over the western as well as central part of India. Now they have control over the entire western coastline. Okay, but what happened was like the Maratha resentment was there. People were thinking like now they are also in the Subsidiary Alliance only, right? They were also forced to be in the Subsidiary Alliance. Okay, so both the people, both this British people, this Maratha, local Maratha people as well as the local Maratha people as well as this rulers, they were also not proper with this political interference of this Britishers, especially under Baji Rao too. Even though Baji Rao too, he initially had support of this, he initially supported the Britishers, but ultimately he also started asserting his independence. So that led to Maratha resistance, and also there is something else is also coming, that is Pindaris. Pindaris means the military people will be like unofficial military people will be like a contract military will be there. So Marathas, you often hire these people also. They also wanted to have some authority, but when Britishers were having this authority, they were not able to do anything. Their authority also slowly started to decline. Okay, so all these things led to the third Anglo-Maratha war. Okay, third Anglo-Maratha war. Now all these factions like Scindias, Holkars, so everything they opposed Britain equally. Opposed Britain equally, but Britain, however, continued to encroach in their autonomy. So again, a revolt happened, and Britain did a coordinated campaign. And the major areas were, one is Battle of Pune. In 1817, we had a 1817 Battle of Pune was there. Obviously, Battle of Pune was captured. Battle of Satara was captured. Battle of Gwalior was captured. So ultimately, wherever the battle happened, British was able to have very strategic. They were able to defeat this Maratha army and capture all these areas. Satara, Pune, and this Gwalior also. These were the strongholds of this Maratha resistance. Okay, the final major battle was fought at Gwalior, and there the Britain defeated the Maratha forces decisively. So ultimately, the outcome of the war is Baji Rao was deposed, and he was sent to exile in Bidur. Okay, so this officially ended the Peshwa rule, and finally all these territories were annexed by the Britishers itself. Okay, vast portions of this territories were annexed, and Maratha lost all the territories. Okay, so this defeat led to the formal dissolution of this Maratha Confederacy. Now, with the Marathas also down, they had very less opponents in that area, and only very few local rulers were able to resist this Britishers there. Okay, so after this, again one more important empire is coming, that is the Punjab. Okay, Punjab kingdom is coming. So there we have the Sikh people are there. Okay, so that we'll be discussing in next class. So these were the consequences of this Maratha war. That is, they have ended the Maratha dominance. And these were the major areas which Britain wanted the control of. For example, Deccan, Malwa, Gujarat, Maharashtra. All these areas were important trade routes and one of the cash cows of this Maratha. So now everything is under the British control. So now Britain has cemented their paramountcy. In this entire region itself. Now you can see that this was actually the expanse of Maratha Empire. Now where is Maratha Empire? There is no Maratha Empire itself. So South was under the control of South is under the control of Britain, because Travancore, they are having a very good relation with Britain. Mysore, they have already captured. Eastern part of India, Bengal, it's already under the control of Britain. Eastern part is also under the control of Britain. Madras, they already have forts in Madras. Now this western part as well as the central part of India, that is also under the control of Britain. Okay, so now they have cemented the paramountcy, but one area was still remaining, that is this area. Okay, so this is the Punjab region. Here the Sikh Empire was ruling. The Sikh Empire was ruling in this Punjab region, something which was formed by the Maharaja Ranjit Singh. So now Britishers were aiming this Punjab region. Okay, so that we'll be discussing in our next class. They also fought a few wars, and finally Britain was able to take control of that region only. So that story we'll be discussing in our next class. Okay, that's all for today. Thank you.